pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone who's here on this snowy day, those who are. Back with you. I mean, the Florida people. Anyways, let's go to roll call. Stacy, you want to call?
Yeah, Albrecht.
Here.
Baslow. Here. Day.
Here.
Gurecki. Scarano.
Here.
Warrenczak. And Mr. Bono.
Yes. Here. So move right into the audit, the 2022 audit by Bowers and Company. We have a presentation today from Neil Bush and Jennifer Richardson. Which one of you ladies wants to start?
Oh, you're on
Hear
mute,
you.
Jen.
Sorry about that. I will start. We're going to do it a tiny bit different this year. So I have a quick little presentation that kind of summarizes the financial statements as well as some of the important notes. So I will just share my screen here. Can you guys all see that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So we're just going to go through the 2021 audit, or excuse me, 2022 audit. We'll start with the required communications. This was the letter that is found in the back of the financial that was sent out. We'll just do an overview of that annual audit overview and then select financial statement notes. So if you guys have any questions, feel free.
Yeah, just one quick thing. We did not make copies of this. It's too many pages and we want to save the trees. If you want a copy, we're happy to give it to you. We're happy to email it to you, whatever you need, but we felt as though we've done it in the past and it just gets handed out. We never look at it. So, but we can go in depth in anything you want to. We did email it to everybody prior to take a look if you had questions prior to the meeting. So sorry, Jen.
No, perfect. That's perfect. All right. So a required communication, this is the same as every year. So it discloses the significant accounting policies. Those are in note 1 of the audited financials. Accounting estimates, same as the prior year, depreciation, OPEB expense, and pension expense. There was a change in accounting principle that is noted in note 1. That was kind of the big change for 2022. There's a new lease accounting standard, GASB 87, that was implemented 1/1/22. So we'll kind of get into that more and I'll show you the changes related to that implementation in the notes. So our material audit adjustments, again, these were attached as well to the financials that were sent around. So we expensed some site development that was determined by management to not be a continuing project. Recorded current year depreciation, which is a standard entry, adjusted revenue related to 2 grants, just to record the receivable for those monies that will be received in. And then the GASB 87 implementation, which is the lease standard, which we'll get into in a little bit. And then our standard GASB 75, which is your OPEB adjustment. Past audit adjustments, there were none. And there were also no difficulties encountered in performing the audit, no disagreements with management, and no known communications with other accountants. So the independent auditors report, that's the first report that you'll see when you open the financial statement. So it says that the financial statements are the responsibility of management, and then Bowers' responsibility is to express an opinion on these financial statements. Also, the audit was conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards. And the opinion that was issued is an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. All right, so these next few slides, I'll just go over the financial statements. I'm sure everybody's familiar with these, so I'm kind of just going to point out the larger balances or if there are any significant changes. If anybody has any questions, just feel free to interrupt while I'm going through this. So cash, we'll look at cash when we get to the cash flow statement. You'll see grants receivable there. Those are the two grants that we adjusted earlier that we spoke about. Then, so really not huge changes this year, very, very similar to the previous year. You'll see your loan receivable balance right there, all collectible according to management. And then your largest balance here on your asset side of the statement of net position is obviously your capital assets. So, your investment in property and site development. Jumping down here to our next part of the statement of net position.
Bring that on the screen at all?
She shared.
No. It's a little small.
Okay, let's see if I can. Yeah. Is that a little better? Okay. Sorry about that. So obviously, so here's your statement of net position. These are the liabilities and net position. I'm sure everyone's eyes go right to the OPEB. This is the adjustment that is from the valuation that the IDA gets, which is done by Aquarius Capital. And then jumping down here to your net investment, down to your net position, you'll see your largest portion of your net position, as expected, is your net investment in capital assets. So related back to your PP&E that we saw on the earlier slide. We'll get to the breakdown of the PP&E shortly in one of the notes. Okay, we're going to jump here to the statement of revenue expenses and changes in net position. Again, like I said, not huge changes from the prior year for your operating expenses. As you'll see here, operating revenues, 683,000. You jump down here to your total operating expenses, 745, leaving a net operating loss of 62,000. So then when we look down here, your non-operating revenues and expenses, you'll see a very large number for your grants received for your business park improvements. Obviously, that's the focus and increasing your investment in your PP&E. Therefore, you can see the large amount of grants that was received in for the year, which is great. So you jump down here to your change in net position of a positive number, 1.9 million. Largely related to the grants received for the business park, ending your year at 3.8 million in net position. Now here's your statement of cash flows. I feel like this is probably the most important statement. This kind of tells your story for the year. You can really see what was happening during the year. So you start off here with your cash flows from operating activities. You can see that cash used in operating activities of about 200,000. And then below you can see all the expansion that was done that we spoke about in the previous slide. Spent 1.8 million spent on the acquisition of land and site improvements. And then you can see the 1.7 million coming in here related to the capital grants. So net cash used, almost a wash of about $60,000 in capital and related financing activities. So adding those categories together, we see a net decrease in cash of 303,000 for the current year. Our next statement here, this is just the an additional reconciliation of the statement of cash flow. So this one, it just starts at your net operating loss and shows all your non-cash adjustments here, and then your changes in your statement of net position. So the other one is a direct cash flow. This is a portion of an indirect cash flow. It's telling the same story, showing you where you're using cash in your operating activities. You can obviously see here, you have your OPEB adjustment too, which is your adjustment for that valuation. So not actual cash spent. Okay, so that's all I have on the statements. If anybody has any questions, again, feel free to interrupt me. So we're just going to go through a few selected financial statement notes. Obviously, the notes are super long and you guys are very familiar with these from previous years. So I'm just going to touch on a few key notes here. I'm going to touch on the changes for the lease standard. So just so everyone's quickly familiar, the lease standard basically put all leases on the books. Operating leases before were just expenses incurred. Now all leases basically are on the books as a liability and a right of use asset. So this kind of gives the reader a better understanding of any financial requirements that the company is going to have within the next year and the period thereafter. So really not a huge change for you guys. There was a building lease. We did work with management to determine how many extensions of that lease would be implemented. And then there was a tiny little copier lease. So the lease standard is included in the PP&E, property, plant, and equipment footnote. So you'll see that kind of consolidated together here. So you'll see the intangible lease asset added right there. So there's just a small note right here, kind of what I just spoke about, saying that they are measured at an amount equal to the initial measurement of the related lease plus any lease payments made prior. So in the current year, we took the capitalization threshold related to property, plant, and equipment of $1,000. Any leases over that were booked. So then we have a little note here, just change in accounting principle, letting people know, the readers know that you are implementing GASB 87. And under this, there is a lease liability and the right of use asset that I spoke of being recorded in the current year in the financial statements. So here's the capital asset footnote. This is, I'm sure you're used to seeing this. So you can see here, your land and improvements, work in process. If you jump down here where my red box is, you'll see the intangible lease assets as restated. So the implementation date was 1/1/22. So we implemented that there, obviously restating our beginning balance to show the asset portion. And then if you jump down accumulated amortization, you see the amortization of that asset. Just like any other asset, there's depreciation recorded on that as you pay down the liability. So here's the additional note. Those others were just changes to current notes that you already have. This is an additional note that kind of shows the components of the lease liability, showing your office space and your copier machine. Down here, it shows the balances of your liability. I think that's the real reason they wanted this note on. A lot of people could have a lot of leases and a lot of commitments, and this kind of brings it to the reader's attention. Earlier, obviously, it was disclosed in the notes before, but this is put directly on the statement of net position. So you'll see here, just like any other debt note, your beginning balance, any additions, reductions for the current year, and your ending balance. Very simple, but it's tough to implement on some companies with, 30 to 40 leases. Again, as I said, the reason was just to bring more transparency to leases. So you can see here, just as you would with the debt statement, that we'll talk about in a second, it shows the future minimum lease payments so that it's clear to the reader what the commitment is. Again, when you are implementing a new standard, there's a lot of notes that are in there just to make sure the reader saw it. So we see a restatement of net position. As I spoke about, it was implemented 1/1/22. So we just showed what the right of use asset and liability were at the beginning of the year. And that the implementation has no impact on the net position. Then we'll jump down here to our last note that we're going to quickly talk about. This is long-term debt. Obviously, everyone's familiar with the notes payable that the IDA has with Herkimer County. So we can see here the two notes that we have that are still outstanding that are paid down when properties are sold. So in the current year.
Please, Jen.
Say that again?
Can you enlarge that a little bit more?
Sure. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. So you can see here the two notes payable that were in effect in December, one with a balance of 245, the other 361. So again, those are showing as due in 2030. They are paid down when the properties that were purchased are sold. So in the current year, there was one reduction of 89,000, bringing it down to that 606 that you see above.
You don't recommend that we pay that off, do you?
I don't see any reason to. There's no interest being accrued on it, so paying it down the way you are, that seems to be working.
Okay, good.
And I believe that are there any questions on any of the other notes or any questions on anything I said, any of the statements?
Did anything stand out to you on any of our financials at all? Was there anything that you wanted to really take note of or that we should be looking at for the future?
No, this year I thought it was extremely clean. I thought everything was very organized and well accounted for. So we were really happy with how the audit went this year.
And this is Liz Bush. I'll pipe in here. And we really appreciate all the constant communication throughout the year. Stacy is very good about emailing us if she has to make some entries. Even yesterday, she had a question on a couple of accounts or journal entries. So I think that's what makes this audit run so smoothly, is that everything doesn't wait until the end of the year and then try to resolve any unknown issues. We resolve them during the year as the things come up. And, there's a lot to implement, especially with a new lease standard. Jen's on the forefront of that. I've gone to her to inquire about other clients, and it's a big standard to implement. Really, the impact on your financial statements is not, it's minimal. There's more notes, there's more additions to your balance sheet or your statement of net position, but that right of use asset and liability, for the most part, pretty much offsets each other. Would you agree with that, Jen?
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
So, the other big question, we have a lot of governmental clients, is that other post-employment benefit payable, because it's a large number on your balance sheet. It's over $1 million, and it's calculated by an actuary. You have to have that on there because you provide health insurance to retirees. I know there's only 5 people that are encompassed in that calculation. However, we do have to have that, or we wouldn't be able to issue that unmodified clean opinion. But as I tell other government agencies, just remember, you still pay as you go. You pay that health insurance bill every month. This is more of a paper type entry that has to be included on your financial statements. In order to keep that clean, unmodified opinion.
Ladies, thank you very much. Are there any other questions for? Very thorough. We appreciate it. The numbers look good, and appreciate the work you put into that.
Of course.
Thank you. We
Great.
appreciate all the cooperation.
That you give them, Mr. Bono. It's not like they made up those numbers. It's the numbers that Stacy and Victoria provide.
I understand.
Okay, just making that clear for everybody.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the audit. Tim Day, second. Alana. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, carried. Audit has been accepted. Ladies, thank you. You're free to go and enjoy the blustery weather. I don't know where you are, but it's blustery here.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. It is. Yeah. Have a good day.
Jen,
Thank you very much, everyone.
Jen, wait,
Jen, if you could please make me the host again.
Oh, yes, of course. Let's see.
that wouldn't have been good.
No, how do I do that?
You'll click the 3 dots on the IDA piece and it should say make host.
I'm not seeing that.
You have a green share screen at the
Yep. Yep. Perfect. All good?
I am the host now. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We had all day, right, John? Most of them. Let's move on, number 4, our mission statement.
Victoria, anybody else have?
No.
The Herkimer County Industrial Development Agency delivers economic incentives to businesses and industry to diversify and strengthen Herkimer County's tax base and enhance community vitality by supporting job creation, business and industrial development, and community revitalization. We strive to develop the local economy in an organized, sustainable, and environmentally beneficial manner.
The minutes been sent to you. They're on your desk. Any corrections, additions, deletions? About that one? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Accept. Mike, second by Corey. Discussion. In favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Carried. Item 6, the January financials, around 6 to 13 in the pages there. John, you want
Sure, as you just saw too, from our end of the year audit, we're in pretty good financial shape. We're in very good financial shape. We do not have anybody that's past due on any of the smaller loans that we have. We're running on schedule with pretty much all of our budget items. We don't see anything changing per se at this time. So everything still looks good. We still have, some additional revenue coming in shortly from some projects and additional land sales to pay down.
questions for Janet? Where they stand? The motion accepts. Tim, second. Mike, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay? Carried. Item 8, our annual affairs report, page 14 to 36.
Sure. No, I think we can do them as one.
Can we approve them all as one?
Sure. I'm sure everybody's read them, reviewed them, and asked any questions that they might have had. I thank you for all the emails, John Scarano, and all of that. You've been very supportive. It's always nothing has really changed in those reporting. It's things that we really need to review and reapprove every year. So we can do all of those as one. Right, Stace? I don't see an issue with that. There's no changes.
Talk about the interview with somebody spending on the senators is there.
I think maybe at the end.
All right. Heard it. Motion please. Tori, second. Alana, discussion. In favor, aye. Any opposed? No. Carried. Number 8.
Truly, though, if you get a chance to review the accomplishments and things that we put in here, those are things that we do send in, and they are placed on file, and they are placed for anyone that has questions about IGAs. So just so you know.
Village Fairs grant update, Victoria, give us.
All right, so I am continuing to work with businesses on their applications. Some of these processes are taking a bit longer than we had maybe hoped at the beginning of rolling out this program. However, it's imperative that we continue to communicate with our representative at Homes of Community Renewal. So with their thorough review and recommendations, just making sure that I'm sending things to them before presenting to you all. Still trying to move forward with those. And in a recent conversation with our representative there, she asked if there was an excess need for the funding. So she offered to provide additional funds for Herkimer County for the CARES grant if that was something that we were interested in. I personally took that as a compliment because that is not offered to every community that gets the grant. So we can.
It's great that she did that, but I think we're gonna pass on that for right now. Only for the fact that this has been the most tedious grant process that we've ever done. And I can speak because I've been on multiple calls and emails and just discussions. We get to a point, we send them something and then they come back with something else. Each one is so unique. The feds are trying desperately to get rid of this CARES money for some reason. I don't know why. But I mean, Victoria is truly doing a great job with it. We get to these points, it's just a crazy situation.
That being said, the funds for the first 2 awarded businesses was received and is in the process of being dispersed to them. What's that
And
one?
who were the first two?
Those were Griffey's Contracting and Four Seasons Tire and Auto. They are right there.
Any questions? Thank you. Let's go to small business, we stay right in that, but there, I guess, small business, 222.
Well, I thought we had to do
Oh, I'm
that
sorry.
around that wood grant, right? Did you want, or you pulled that,
No,
right?
we're not ready.
Every time we go down a path with them, you didn't put it on this other one, I'm sorry. It's on the old. Every time we seem to go down a path, we send it into the state. Probably 4 days later, sometimes right away, but mostly about 3 to 4 days later, we get these, oh no, that's not eligible now. And then we have to follow up with a different way to try to give them some support, so. But they haven't to date, they really haven't said, don't do it yet, let's think about things, right?
Right, or it's more complicated to do that. You need to be able to provide a additional reason behind it. So there's additional content that may not.
Okay, so let's go to, continue on with the update of the 222 and,
As John said, all payments are coming in accordingly. We don't have many being received in now. We're kind of getting to the end of funding here. As you can see, we have Juliana's Farm on the agenda for approval today, which was approved by the 3 RLF committee members. So if that business is approved, you would get the remaining funds in the account.
how much is left after we?
So if he's approved, by the time we close, because he would have to purchase the door that he wants to purchase for the store, it would be approximately $1440 in a loan and $1440 in grant, with the rest being owner injection.
And then we just keep getting in.
We
little
just keep
drips
getting
and
in a
drabs.
little bit here and there from everyone, so it will take quite a while to get enough back into the fund to be able to present another application.
We also did send to the state a certified letter because we emailed them and said, we want to be done with the reporting to you since this money has been spent multiple times over and over again. And we said in the letter, if we do not hear back, we can take that as we don't need to report it anymore. I don't know if that was the right thing to do. We probably didn't have Tony look at it, but I figured it's a couple $1,000, let them take it to jail. So,
When they do that for loans, does that go back into that?
yeah. So there's a chance, a lot of times when they get the loan, they pay it right off right away.
Yeah,
Sometimes they don't, so.
yeah.
We have some businesses that are severely past due. and
None,
payments.
not at all, not
We
one.
did at one time, but no longer.
We make them kind of do that ACH a lot, or some of them come in with about 5 checks ahead, you know. And then we just deposit them as they come in, that's a different fund, but.
So that's
still,
good. Yeah.
You know, yeah, we get on top of them. I mean, it's a small amount, but still it's not fair to anybody else. Grab the
Yeah, right.
grab the bandanas and go knocking on doors.
Okay, so we have Juliana Farms, there's a project they have for some sliding, doors for the greenhouse and I know for the air conditioning. Last year, and I think it's a lot of those people who are in, I think it was big house in the greenhouse there as well. And the expensive one for your doors, and it's about an $8,500 project, 2,000 loan, 2,000 grant, and about $4,500 in the investment. There. So, motion to approve. Motion Cory, second. Dennis, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any carried. Let's go to marketing update. Aaron's unfortunately not able to be here, so I'm gonna do some. Ernie? That was where they won.
They want a chance to see this.
Do a presentation.
So we've been putting together various presentations for different meetings that we have going on, and we're really focusing this month on some brownfield opportunities. Thanks. Oh, but first we'll start out with our great picture from Antonio Delgado, which was a great time. Thank you all for attending. Middle of the road guy, great, took a lot of notes. We see him all over the place. I thought it was beneficial that we had a chance to really discuss with him some different topics and questions and things. Does anybody else who was here, who went to that, have anything they want to say? Pardon? No, he's out of the Hudson Valley, but he's the lieutenant governor.
Right, yeah.
He was a congressman down there prior to. But he's also a rapper. You missed, he rapped for us, Mike, if you were here. I know John, he played it for him several times.
He divested himself, though. Every time we asked about music, he didn't want any conversation.
He was interested in the meeting, I really think so.
I do too.
He was
Yeah.
writing notes, and as you were going through the presentation, he was writing notes, and his lead staff was writing notes, and they were into it, so. That was a good presentation.
Thank you very much. I had great support from Victoria and Aaron. in the presentation. One of the things we are featuring, and I have a meeting set up with Central New York Business or Defense Alliance, and there are also many other groups about possibly having some space within the O'Neill phone for some drone use. And right now they have Sky Dome, which is at Griffiths. It's huge, but a lot of those guys don't want other people to see what we're doing. So we're gonna really go promote that too as well. So that'll give another aspect to it. It's in a hub zone, which is great for government contracts and development. It just fits in well with that area with the high-speed internet and everything. So that's one of the things Aaron put together for us. We also got in a lot of lists on the harvest facility. We did a mailer, a blitz to a lot of trade magazines that promoted it. So we received we set this separate page up on our website. So we heard from farms even as far away as Canada. I'll get more into that site later. Harvest facility, I should say. Today I'm going to present Brownfields for Dummies. I don't know if I copyright stole anything from anybody. But today we're doing an economic development presentation through Genesis. I'm on the panel with Steve DeMayo, and Allison from DSD, and Kit Hicks from Madison County. So a whole bunch of us. So I don't know, but I wanted to let them know. This just walks you through the presentation. You can keep going down. Outline what a brownfield, the do's and don'ts, some of the grants that we received for the dual fold, some of the other properties we have around the county. And then our Bowen too. So we're going to give them a full example. Plus, I'm shamelessly going to plug the next stream. Our Brownfield Development Summit. If you in the room have not signed up, please do go to the website for MVEDD. Type in the word public when they ask. It makes it free for you. We are major sponsors to this. I'm seeing the whole event. We have people coming in from a lot of the Northeast, New York State. We were told by the EPA the day before the event on the 24th, we're going to hold our roundtable discussion. They've only ever held it in New York City or Albany, so we're honored. There'll be people here from Puerto Rico, New Jersey, all around the state for that event on Monday. So that's separate from this, but still tied into it. So we're really excited about this.
Right. Let's go.
Any questions on that? Okay, Erin is out today, but she has nothing.
Legal representation, Article 11, for various projects.
Yeah, so there's 4 of them in here. They do touch on 4 various topics. We've all discussed these before, but to ratify them, we had them send us letters that outline what they are. There's 2 involved with water and the Skylar Business Park and the water transmission line. There's 1 in here for Brownfield, the Union School site. And then the last one. Escaping me right now.
The land bank.
Oh, the land bank, yes. So those are the 4 that we have in there, and we just need these to be approved. Is there
Any questions? All right, in front of you, we need to-
they can all be on of them.
Yeah, we'll do all, yeah. This will be Hudson Ross, that will be the firm. Any questions? I need one. Tim, second, Mike. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay? Carried. Let's go to the sponsorship for Mohawk Valley Edge, reviews, page 56.
What this is, usually we do these things separately, like we pay our dues and then we do some other things like the Leading Edge Award. And so, you know, I know it's 5,000, but I'd really just rather have everybody vote on this and support. I think it's a great thing. They did put me on the executive committee this year. So we're seeing a lot more activity, and they're actually hosting an Edge meeting here in March, which is quite unique at the college. And Justin Hummel now is the chairman of the board for Edge, which is a person the first Edge. So we're trying to do some different things. So we're looking at the $5,000. Not the 6.
All right, the motion to, Cory, second, John, discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Carried. Item 13, and then on business.
John.
Yeah.
That's, I remember way back when the edges, we didn't exist. That's good.
We work well together. We do a lot of things. There's so many projects that they have working on that tie in with us. It's good for me to have that opportunity to sit with Steve DeMail at time to time too and have some good discussions. I think, and Jimmy's been with a bunch of their people that work there too. They're good young people. They want to see success. So we're really happy to work with them.
It's almost like we got one year at the end.
Yeah,
Didn't make any sense, of course, but maybe we didn't try hard enough to not be the end of the year, so that's going back a little bit.
yeah.
Good. It's a region.
On the executive or,
Yeah.
there's probably 10, different people from different, there's a gentleman from Magny that's new. There's a couple of bankers, Rocco, from Adirondack, John Buffa from Adirondack, what's the woman's name?
They're all board members, all right?
Yeah, they're both, we all are board members as well. Yeah. Yeah, so there's quite a few, but people do attend it. It's a good attendance and we meet once a month and go through the project, so.
There for a while, I'm gonna be first.
Buffa, well, he was at NBT and now he's with Adirondack, so, but he stayed on the executive committee. But it's good to see Justin Hummel. He moves the meetings. He's energetic. He wants to see some things. He tells Steve, let's try, and that's key. When younger. I like the younger part.
Okay, so discussion. Let's go to 13. Business cards, engineers, talk about the water sewer extension set.
So this is a fee for them to be, once again, our engineering services to work with us on the water and sewer upgrades and expansions to that area. It's $13,702.
Any questions? Motion. Tim, second by Lana, any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay? Carried. Masonic Temple, number 14, Sharon, where are we?
So we are in a good position there. However, we do need to have a structural done on the building. And here is the cost from Delta. There was some things in there that they wanted done, like, to cover up or remove a lot of the bulbs and other things that are in there. We said no, and we're not going to remove any of the asbestos, and there's not a lot of it. And they did need to tamper with it. So he goes, well, we might still need to wear, some respiratory band. I said, you do whatever you got to wear. I don't have a problem with that. Well, we really need to know the one back corner of that building. That's where we see some issue. So we'll have have them come in and do some borings, and they'll go throughout the building and really look at it to make sure it's stable for us to continue on. Probably the time frame for the county is about June to take over that structure. And then from there, we'll work out how we're going to move ahead with it. Whether we form a separate LLC or whatever, but we haven't even gone after all the grants that we know that are available. I've been putting together a list of ones that will fit with this. And just for what we need, I mean, it's going to really be, and any of you, once again, if you want to go over, we do have a key, we can get in there. But we thought, we really blocked it up good, so no more homeless. I mean, we found a grill with a propane tank. We saw where they started a fire, but they didn't too bad. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy cooked up something for lunch that day. But, we did, it wasn't that bad, and there's a great room in there. I think it's really gonna be something that'll help really transform Main Street and help us to with shared service, shared type offices and things like that.
And what happens if it comes back with a bad portion? Because there's concern there, it's cracked in the foundation. What if it comes back and it's just too cost prohibitive? Are we going to still move forward until we get that covered with grants or?
We would work to get those covered with grants. Let's be perfectly honest. No one is going to invest in that building but a public entity. There's no way to convert that over. No company's going to come in and say, oh, we want to do this. We're really going to take that and do something with it and help out not only the village, but the county and give us those resources we need. So we might have to take off that back part of the building. We understand that. And yes, we will work with grants, and there's so many different opportunities we can have. After we have a place like that and do that, we can even go after bidding out to get Corey's group there, or the Small Business Development Center, things like that, that we can help to encourage growth in our area. So
that's.
Should this roll into like the BOA? Or
this
you're
would
saying
not.
because of what you just said.
Well, because the BOA wouldn't have any money to support this. This building is in the BOA area.
Yeah.
But once again, we'll be taking it over, so it might not tie into specific grants for that,
Mhm.
but we would be able to get other grants that would help.
Okay, so this for 46.5, questions? And how long?
So it's 46, not the 27 above, right? 27.
Yeah, we're gonna take out some of those fees though, so it'll be under 46.5.
Up to 46.5.
Yeah. So we're gonna look at like scanning too, because we might not 3D scan right now. But let's keep it at that amount now, and then we're gonna have conversations as we move along. He's gonna start in the back where we see the issue, and then we'll work towards which way we want to go. He can get going on this pretty fast here. Yeah, so they would have started already, but I didn't want to. I wanted to actually have a discussion. So probably 3 months from the sign, but I think, and that would put us in a good time frame of taking over the
Should
structure.
start in 3 months?
No, they start now, they'll be completed.
Okay, need a motion. Tim, second, Corey, discussion. All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay, nay. Okay, carried. Comment by elected officials, I have none. I have none on the,
Is there anybody else on, Victoria?
No,
It's snowing, that's, for some reason, when it snows, people just go into hibernation mode. It's crazy. Let's go project updates.
IDA has some new rules and in fact, for when it talks about notifying different jurisdictions. So we're very concerned about that. We have to start doing that. It adds a lot additional work, not saying we don't notify them now, but you have to have so many other send certified mail and just a whole host of things. Plus, we're finding new bills out there all the time. There was a senator that Jimmy was alluding to earlier from the Senate down in Orange County, where Orange County, we know, have had many issues with their IDA down there, from hiring a consultant, paying them like $800,000 in 2 years, no one watching the house. So he's out to get a lot of the IDAs. He has a bill that he's presenting that we go regional with IDAs. He says that one IDA competes against another. I said, we don't agree with that. It could be, this guy could be a nightmare. He's a young guy from down near the city, and he thinks everybody gives everything away, and he was on the local station yesterday, and it's like, I'm texting them during the show saying, that's not true up here. Why aren't you saying, but they feed off of that, So they did ask me to go on, but I didn't have time today. Or the next couple of days I'll be down in Albany, but it's just ridiculous. They think we're all corrupt because of down where they are. And most of the people where they think the people that want to push against IDAs, they're based out of the city because they're corrupt. And that's where they see the issues, but you're not seeing it in Oneida County, Herkimer, Schoharie, you know, a lot of, but we're seeing it from the board. I mean, he even referenced, should we pay a board so we would have, board members more accountable?
Yes.
I don't understand, but how does that make you more accountable because you're paid? His reasoning and philosophies make no sense.
Well, you see where the governor is going with, she's saying all the influx of money is going to be concentrated to the city now, because that's where all the economic revenue is generated, she says.
I'm worried because she brings up housing. We were talking about this, we need all this housing.
800,000 units of housing, and what
They're gonna force it down your throat, they're gonna build, yeah, you're gonna build public housing spots.
Up here, well, he says now we shouldn't give pilots for public housing where she wants to do it all. They're giving 300 million to the MTA and expecting all of us to pay for that. We get no additional transportation up here.
creating these regional areas, same thing New York City does us now. Don't get any representation, so if you put lump us into Syracuse, for instance. It's true, I mean, we're not gonna do it.
Well,
And we had, even with Edge back in the day, that was the rep, we didn't get that representation. Got better. And, you know, smaller is better, 2 counties is manageable, but when you get into 6, 10 counties. We won't get any representation, we won't get any funding, for a lot of the stuff, I mean. We should worry about ourselves, I mean, and I've said this before, ain't nobody gonna worry about us but us, and yeah, it was disheartening, then they replayed it again this morning, you go online and run. Do that.
The key is having people that want to get things done too in your area. If you get down around the city, you get the huge board where everybody's got their own agendas and nothing gets done.
Well, he says, well, everybody's moving into Hudson Valley, their warehouses, because it's too costly in the city. Well, that's your problem. When they come up here, he says, well, look at what everybody gave Amazon. We gave Amazon nothing, and they're here. Pepsi did not take property tax. So where do you come up with putting us all in the same category?
So if anybody asked you, I mean, we had one instance that was not even this, it was a concern that the auditor had. It was where, you know, somebody put on the application, it was an approximation, nothing jobs created.
No, Jimmy, so
Okay,
let
okay,
me tell the story
you tell the
because,
story
yeah, we don't want to,
But
you want
in case-
people to talk, you
in
want to
case-
tell them the truth.
You're a board member
So-
and they pop up.
So-
What do you tell?
Estimated sales tax, they came to us with a number. On the application, it says estimate. It was, what's their name? HPK, the PPE guys in Utica, came with us with an estimated. Their estimation came back $6,000 more. And the auditors wanted us to charge to get that back. And we said, it clearly says estimate on here. If you wanted to say actual, go get it changed. If I go in front of a judge tomorrow and say, here's estimate, they gave us an estimate, but they were over, the judge is gonna say, well, what are you gonna do? I talked to a bunch of EDC people and they said, it's estimated. What can you do? And they brought in a ton more jobs. They've overmet everything else that they've done. But these guys are so broad that they can't give you. So if that comes up, first off, direct them to me anyways. And secondly, everything on there is estimated. So we haven't had issues with jobs per se, but today you're gonna see some of those things, not through us, but in general, because it's harder to get employees. So we work with them on that. They also say there's no justification. Well, that's an outright lie because we have a software package that gives us the justification. And it's either 1-to-1 or it could be 5-to-1 ratio, whatever that is on the project. Solar, which they're pushing beyond believe green energy, is 1-to-1. And he never mentions that or the brownfields, but he mentions warehousing and other things that bring in jobs. And then he also dissed our area because he brought up $35,000 salary was poverty. And so you're asking a guy to come up from down there that has no clue on what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we did Tractor Supply, this is 350 jobs, and we got close to 800, if not more than the company. So they don't,
750.
whatever, it's close to it, so it's double what so there's successes, they're exponential.
The problem, if you talk to the media and you give a number, it's there forever. So you want to remember when you talk to them that the number you say it's better to be lower than higher, because if you say higher and they go back and it's not it, they throw it in the face constantly. Especially these guys for some reason. They were Googling all of it. this guy, and I can't figure it out. Oh, yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah. I have a question for Tony. Did we close on Harbor Point?
Yes,
Okay, so we're all set there.
yes, sir.
Okay, so, ELG has hired, ELG is the larger gray building in the Frankfurt North Business Park that we've leased to them. They are, and we'll have an application from them soon. They are moving all their operations to Herkimer because they bought the additional buildings there and all the land. So that building is gonna go for sale, and they hired a real estate group out of Albany. And I told them about these 2.6 acres that we have there too, and he's kind of marketing them together. So we have an outside chance of some other things going on there, but I'd rather have him push with a company that wants to come in and take that 60,000 and be able to do something there. And once again, when we sell it to them, if they don't do anything, retrieve that back. I asked them already. That was my first, because they were in the beginning, and then when I went to them, they're not interested now. They've worked through their scheduling quite well. You know, that's what they said in the beginning. They didn't have their schedule down the way they do now, and now that just flows great for them. And that's what happened with Adirondack Food and Fuel was sold off, which we all know, and they are going gangbusters, and Amazon is one of the reasons. I was told already that their income is well beyond what they expected. The new rules we talked about, venue strategies will be here in March for a couple of days. They're the group we hired to do the venue study. They're going to look at sites, talk to people. If they haven't reached out to you, you want to talk with them, let myself or Aaron or Victoria know, because we want to talk about, we want you to have a chance to talk with them. We still haven't decided which way we're going yet. But we will soon, but that's one of the processes that they have to do. We talked about the EPA roundtable. We're very excited about that, as well as the Brownfield Summit. Just so you know, last year, what did we have, about $5,000 in sponsors, maybe 6. This year, we're over 24,000 being held in Herkimer County. So we're very excited about what we're going to do here. Anti-harassment training. I don't want to say Corey, Mike, and I guess Tim did not do theirs yet, but you guys know who you are. Financial disclosure packets. Those were handed out. Please get those back to us as soon as it is harassment, but it's not. Oh, it's anti-harassment. I'm sorry. You're correct. Financial disclosures, please get those back into us. We did see the slide from Anthony Delgado's visit. He did, we were excited to have him here. It did work out for us. They do know some of our concerns, and I did reach out to them because a CFA was put in for the dual hold property, and his team said that they would look into it, so that's a positive. We're short on that project a little bit. Today we have that Genesis roundtable event at noon at Harts Hill Inn. Finally got approval from the health department for water and sewer at Russell Farm. One of the craziest things is when we submitted it back in the day, the health inspector came back and said, no, you have to provide us with this. We provided everything. He came back and said, no, you have to go back the way you originally applied. So we had to get some signatures from the town supervisor. This guy is nuts. He needs to retire. He knows that we had Mary Ann Buttenshine call him because she's, on the party that has the majority. She called him in the morning and the afternoon. So we appreciated that. But this has been going on probably 19 months. And one of the times he corrected grammar and spelling. And there was really no spelling errors. He put a hyphen in somewhere. It was ridiculous. So we're good on Russell Farm, and then we'll really start moving ahead with that. I'm also I'm down in Albany tomorrow and Wednesday for the EDC conference. I have meetings with Empire State Development people. They have a couple of projects that are interested in our area because of Micron. So we're going to discuss that. So that's a big positive for us. We can talk about Project Jefferson by that name alone, Tony, and just maybe you can give an update on where we are with that. No, I don't think you need to, because that's not anything. I don't you think, Tony, we're calling it by a different name, and
It's completely innocuous at this point in time, John. All I can say is we've agreed to the contract terms and I'm waiting for the signed purchase offer and deposit. I will follow up with council on that, after I get off the phone with you, because we should have that yesterday.
We should have. Okay. We also had a meeting with, myself, I think with NYSEG, New York State Electric and Gas. So I was on the phone with them and they cover the southern part of Herkimer County. And we're looking at some properties in the town of Warren and Columbia that has gas, right near it, so we can tap into that for more development. So that's more to come. And I think I'm covered everything until we go into executive session. Russell, so I can do just a couple other things too. Water tower for Skylar. We're looking at some pricing, looking where we're gonna locate it. We're gonna have the geotech drilling done very soon, so that'll be a tower that'll help support the entire park. The water tower for Dollarville and the sewer extension. We're hoping to submit everything to the Department of Health within 2 weeks. Geotech schedule is scheduled there too for the drilling. And we're working on tank prices there. We talked about voting strategies. We have some other property we'll talk about in the executive session. And that's it for now. We should be able, unless anybody else has anything to go into executive session.
I sent out a pullover order, so today's the day for that. So if you haven't gotten back to me wanting to order that, let me know today. I'll be placing the order tomorrow.
Anything else?
We want totally stand for all that.
Good stand. I don't know if we're going surfing or anything like that, but we'll be quick.
We can't hear you. Tony, if you could stay on for a couple minutes in executive session.
Okay, motion to go into executive session to advice of council.
On land, on legal. And
Alana, Jack, any discussion? On favor, aye.
personnel. So
Gary, we're in executive session.
let's start out, Tony, with DOT in Skylar.
Where do you want to start, John?
Well, I like the way that
Middle of the road.
you're coming back and saying, look, they haven't really filed something to stop anything, and we have nothing that we really have to push forward with as far as legally yet. And then we had a call yesterday, Tony and myself, with Delta. They came back with a couple things that Delta and their lead engineer on this is a former DOT Region 5 director, similar to